Well, this morning's Jeep adventure finds us way out in the Arizona desert. We are north of Sentinel, now also known as Middle of Nowhere, and we're headed up towards the site of the Oatman Family Massacre. So this is...
which happened in what year?
Back in around 1851, so is that 172 years ago, something like that. And the road so far is, well, if this was a forest, you'd call it a fire road. But since it's a desert, it's just a road. Fairly smooth. We've encountered just a very little washboard. A little bit dusty today.
And it's only 89 degrees.
Yeah, about 89 degrees so far at 10:30 in the morning. Should be a great day out here in the desert. The Palo Verde trees are in full bloom.
Ocotillos are in bloom.
And we're hoping to see some saguaro cactus maybe in bloom. But we shall see. We haven't come across any saguaro that are close to the trail yet. So we will keep you updated. We're a little bit farther up the trail on part 2 of the Oatman Family Massacre Trail Jeep adventure. As you can see, the Palo Verde trees are really in full bloom out here in the Arizona desert. Quite striking. So they bloom after the other wildflowers. We've seen a few apricot mallows, and haven't seen any brittle bush over here. I've seen 1 or 2 flowers so far on the saguaros, but I see right at the crown of the saguaro cactus there are some little buds coming out, so they're getting ready to bloom. Here comes the bunch more Palo Verde trees. So we're just making our way through this volcanic tableland out here. This was thin flows of basaltic material from shield volcanoes, and Sean, who's one of the jeepers along with us as a geologist, he was telling us you could tell they were thin because they broke apart into rocks, and there's not a real thick layer. There's not a huge depth of these rocks. Very interesting day out here in the desert. Over in California, we don't get to see the saguaro cactus much, so we are seeing a lot of saguaros. And I think we'll see some more, and hopefully we'll see some in full bloom. Well, this is part 3 of our Jeep adventure along the Oatman Family Massacre Trail, and we have reached the reasonably high basaltic mesas above the Gila River Valley, and maybe up there you can see a sign. So we're very close to the site where the massacre of the Oatman family back in 1851 occurred. So we're going to make our way up here, and we're going to get out here and a little scouting around and kind of a little remembrance of the Oatman family. So that pile of rocks where the sign is, that was an original grave site. The remains were moved in 1954 and buried down in the Gila River Valley about a quarter-mile from us.
I saw this strike Lorenzo, and almost at the same instant, my father also. I was so bewildered and taken by surprise by the suddenness of their movements and their deafening yells that it was some little time before I could realize the horrors of my situation. When I turned around and opened my eyes and collected my thoughts, I saw my father, my own dear father, struggling and bleeding and moaning in the most pitiful manner. Lorenzo was lying with his face in the dust, the top of his head covered with blood, his ears and his mouth bleeding profusely. I looked around and saw my poor mother with her youngest child collapsed in her arms, and both of them still, as if the work of death had already been completed. A little distance on the opposite side of the wagon stood little Mary Ann, with her face covered with her hands, sobbing aloud, and a huge-looking Indian standing over her. The rest were motionless, save the younger brother and my father, all upon the ground, dead or dying. At this sight, a thrill of icy coldness passed over me, and I thought I had been struck. My thoughts began to reel and became irregular and confused. I fainted and sank to the earth, and for a while, I know not how long, I was insensible. When I recovered my thoughts, I could hardly realize where I was, though I remembered to have considered myself as having also been struck to the earth, and thought I was probably dying. I knew that all, or nearly all of the family had been murdered, and thus, bewildered and confused and half conscious and half insensible, I remained a short time, I know not how long, when suddenly I seemed awakened to the dreadful realities around me. My little sister was standing by my side, sobbing and crying and saying, "Mother, oh mother, Olive, mother and father are killed with all our poor brothers and sisters." I could no longer look upon the scene. Occasionally a low, piteous moan would come from someone of the family as in a dying state. I distinguished the groans of my poor mother and sprang wildly toward her, but was held back by the merciless savage, holding me in his cruel grasp and lifting a club over my head, threatening me in the most taunting, barbarous manner. I longed to have him put an end to my life. Oh, thought I must I know that my poor parents have been killed by these savages, and I remain alive. I asked him.
So we're here at the Oatman Massacre site, and we've come down to the roadway that used to lead down to the Gila flatlands, the river flats down there. And this is the roadway that the Oatman family came up that day. They had to unload their wagon because the oxen could not pull it loaded, so they hauled the stuff up here by themselves. And this was a very well-traveled road, and you can see some of the ruts made by the wagon in the volcanic rock here. We'll follow this along. It's pretty evident that these were made by the steel tires on the wagons. Yeah, they got a good one over here.
It's interesting how apparently they ran the same track a lot. Well, I guess they got forced into it just by the
So there's, you can see that indentation there in the rock where the wagons would struggle up, and probably going down too. I'm sure wagons had to run both ways in a trade route.
Control that wagon.
So we've left the site of the massacre, so this will be part 4, I believe, of today's Jeep adventure. And we are going on a more modern road that goes down into the Gila River Valley. Much smoother than what that old wagon road was, where we saw the ruts from the wagons from 150 years ago. So
It's beautiful.
kind of a neat little trail, a little gully here to our right with a lot of Palo Verdes.
And a lot of brittle bush too in here, down in the canyon there. Yep.
Yeah, there's a brittle bush there on the left that's dried up, so a little too late for the wildflowers, but some of the trees and the cacti are blooming, and that saguaro cactus just in the left of the frame coming down to the middle, I believe it has flowers on the top and 2 of the arms. This is the season that the fruit-nosed bats really like, because they come at night and feed on the saguaro flowers. Yeah, this is a quite easy trail. Looked like it was going to get a little rougher there for a minute. but almost
never
like
know.
they came and created it for us. So we're going to continue on, and hopefully we are going to find the site of the Four family, F-A-U-R-R, I believe is the spelling. They were pioneers in this area, and they have a family cemetery there. Mrs. Four had 12 children, and 4 of her sons are buried there. And we might also be able to get over to the final resting spot of the Oatman family, depending on
John and John, if you guys pass me by, we're
Caves.
going to make one stop.
Copy.
So we'll just mosey along here for a little while, and allow the rest of our group to catch up. So the Oatman Family Massacre Part 5, we encountered a locked gate, but we found another trail, and we did find the actual site where the final internment of the remains of the Oatman family was. So let's get a close-up of the plaque here. In memory of the Oatman family, 6 members of this pioneer family massacred by Indians in March of 1851. Projected by the Arizona Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution in 1954. So this was, the remains were moved here in 1954, and that's, that is it. So we've pretty much completed the circumnavigation of the Oatman Family Massacre.